Is Benedict even really good in triangle strategy? One thing I've been wondering more and more as I play this game on my fresh save hard deathless run is the impact of Benedict on a team comp. Generally speaking, early game, he seems to be one of the worst units to run because he does almost nothing. Like the main arguments for Benedict tend to be that he's durable, that he has utility, and that's it. those are the arguments. Now on level 50, new game plus hard mode, he's always good for just twofold turn and dragon shield, but he does require a Medina. But you have to consider Benedict in a few different use cases, right? So like let's start from a fresh save. So fresh save, what does he have? Raging Beast, Bulwark, and then he gets Bird of Prey, and then now. So this is his kit. Does he have battery throughout most of the game to spam now? No. Would it be worthwhile to battery him so that he can use now? Absolutely not. So his best ability, arguably, would be now early game. And he can't use it often, and he can't spam it. But what can he do early game? Raging Beast is something he can do infrequently. The damage boost on hard mode is almost negligible. It's good on the first 3 maps, then it starts to fall off hard. What would you rather have? An enemy taking double damage or an enemy taking 20% more damage? Because the difference between running a second mage versus Benedict is double damage versus a damage increase. That's literally that. So if I have Corentin and Frederica and she uses, Scorch and he uses Frost Breath, that's generally double the amount of magic damage. Versus if one of them catches a buff from him, yes, they will deal, 20% more damage, adding up to 60% more damage over 3 turns, assuming that it works out that way, because it could easily not work out that way. One thing I don't like is when people always assume the best of a situation and you're going to get damage buffed for 3 turns. Let's say it's a 20% damage increase. That's a 60% increase in damage over 3 turns. Okay, but what if they have a dead turn? What if they're at a TP? Right? These are what if the enemy would die in 2 hits anyways? These are all real world situations when you're actually playing the game that these things matter. So getting a damage boost can be useful, but in my experience, just having good positioning and good team comp is way better, and having a unit that just buffs other things is basically just a dead unit. Now, if he could buff things while using now we're talking. But the fact that these are all activated abilities, some of these aren't even very good. Bulwark is decent early game until you hit mid game, and then it just really falls off. But it's not even necessary. In some maps you kind of can use it, but usually just spamming provoke and shutdown is better. So I would argue it's not really that good. It's good for the first 5 maps, and then it starts falling off. Bird of Prey, this needs to default giving you +2 jump, because +1 jump on most units isn't going to open up new pathways for them. On some maps it might, but it's just not worth wasting an entire turn for. So his early game kit is kind of weak. It doesn't really do too much. I'd rather just have damage and shutdown than this utility. So I would say his early game is quite bad, and especially on Deathless, where there's green units on the board and you have to kill things rapidly. What does he do? Sometimes he can just make something go. That's not very useful. I'd rather just have another unit that can actually contribute to the team. He's not like a dancer in Fire Emblem, because dancing is free, right? You can always dance, and there's also units that are so much better than other units that you want to dance them. But in this case, every unit is generally about as strong as every other unit, so being able to selectively arrange turn order, unless you're doing something specific, isn't that useful. So his early game is not that good. That's the main points of this. And honestly, in fresh save hard deathless, I do not think he's that good of a unit. He's one of my least used starting units. I honestly don't see the value in him at all. The damage increase is negligible. Julio just does it better. The reason why Benedict sucks early game is because Julio is everything Benedict wants to be. He can get Moment of Truth down to 1. He gets 3 turn damage and strength buff on allies while giving them TP, and he can do this every single turn. He also can hit things with damage, as you can see here. He can deal some damage. He can get TP back from killing things. He just needs to get the last hit in. And this can trigger off of follow-up attacks, meaning that Julio can just be positioned next to an enemy, next to their back, and you can have like Serenoa hawk dive an enemy, and then Julio hits it in the back for a crit and then gets extra TP, which he can then send to another ally using Finish Them, which allows him to send 2 TP at range. He also has a damage reduction with high TP. He has a magic attack that can hit with melee and crit, and he can back crit shield users, and you can use Inheritor, and this is whatever. But like early game Julio, you just spam Moment of Truth and then get KO TP plus and spam Finish Them as needed. He can keep 2 mages topped off. He can accumulate TP from getting KO TP plus, and he can generally keep at least 1 mage casting a spell every turn, and he can potentially keep up to 2 mages casting spells by managing finishing them in KO TP plus correctly. So he can be a really solid battery early game, and also he's durable and he has good strength. He's durable, he has good strength, he can battery himself, he can battery other units, and he puts buffs on things. Benedict has no damage, his buffs aren't that good, he has no battery, his best abilities are very expensive. Okay, so that's him early game. So he's just outshined by Julio in a huge way. What about late game? Late game, I would say his best skill is Twofold Turn. Some people might think it's Dragon Shield. Dragon Shield is good, but it's not as good as it seems. There are a lot of things that can cause it to end early. So for example, if an enemy uses Wind Magic and hits you, for whatever reason, the chip damage from Clash will end it, and then you'll take like full damage. And Dragon Shield can easily get removed by AoE damage if the units just got Dragon Shielded and then an AoE mage goes. You can get pushed into it, you can take chip damage, a lot of things can end it. It's still good. It's better for attacking than Flanagan. Like, the main thing with Dragon Shield, in my opinion, is it's competing with Flanagan's mitigation, which is just way better and easier to play around, and it's so good it breaks the game. Dragon Shield is not so good it breaks the game, it's just good. Rampart is so good it breaks the game. 50% damage reduction for, 3 turns of Flanagan's. You could, like, a total of, 30 to 60 unit turns can go by before Rampart ends, and Flanagan can maintain it easily. So you're talking about a single, negating a single hit on up to 5 units versus having damage for 20 hits. If a unit keeps catching heals and has shielding stance and ramparts on them, they can take 20 hits. That's just not something Dragon Shield can do. So late game, he's okay, but and then also the other problem too, late game, Raging Beast falls off, Bulwark falls off. Bird of Prey never really falls off because movement and jump is never something that you get a ton of. So I would say this is one of the few that actually gets better because it's always good, it's always relevant. It doesn't last long enough. I think that's another problem with his kit. He needs passives that allow his abilities to last longer. So you can see here, you can increase the effectiveness of them, but not the duration. I think if all of these things had flat modifiers where it's you get a defense increase and then you take -5 damage. You get strength and magic increase and then also +5 damage. So it gives you that as well. That would help make him more competitive and relevant. And then the buffs to them could increase those. Bird of Prey should be default +2. And all of these should last for 5 turns in my opinion to even justify using him, because early game he's not good. And then late game he's just an A tier. He's good. Late game he's good, but because of Twofold Turn and all the different things you can do with that. And then Dragon Shield can be good for attacking. But aside from that, he literally doesn't do anything. Aside from these 2 abilities, now is just worse than fast-acting medication. And it's on Medina, who's already, an absurd unit. So she can get double turns every, set of turns, every other set of turns with speed bracelets. You throw 2 speed bracelets on Medina, she can double items battery, and then very often she gets extra turns for free, and then she can also fast-acting medication someone. She's quite absurd. So, he's competing with Medina for turn accelerator, and he's not going to be competitive. For Twofold Turn, this is his own thing. It's good. This is, the main thing that makes him A tier, I think, and then Dragon Shield. Remain Calm is decent, but he's a backliner. If you use him as a frontliner, it's whatever. He's not the most... He's, somewhat tanky, but he just... My problem with him is his damage is really bad, and he just doesn't really do anything aside from buffing things. But his buffs aren't big enough impact for me to justify running him. I used him a lot in my first like 2 playthroughs, and then I quickly realized like he's just kind of like dead weight because like he needs to catch battery to do anything useful, and batterying him versus battering like Corinton or Maxwell is just like stupid. Like, who would you rather battery? Eridor so he can King Shield a bunch of enemies, or Maxwell so he can high jump, or Corinton so he can Glacial Moon, or Milo so she can Power of Love, or do you want to battery Benedict so he can put a kind of shitty Ramparts on your team? Like, it's just not even a contest. Like, if you had to choose one, I would describe Dragon Shield as a win more ability. It's not going to be the core thing that causes you to win. You will have won anyways. It can help. It can help you win, but it's never going to be the reason you win. I would say Ramparts is way better. And then for Twofold Turn, this is his only like unique thing. What I would like to see is I would like now Twofold Turn and Dragon Shield to inherit these buffs like as he hits endgame or something, because like I would never waste a turn using these. This is stupid. Like, it's just not big enough value. I mean, either make these hit up to 5 targets. Now we're talking. If you can do that, like if I can bulwark 5 things for 1 TP, even if it's just like a slight increase, that would actually be good. I think his problem is that single target buffs are good when they're powerful, but in this case they fall off hard, and on like, you know, in level 50 New Game Plus hard mode, they're not really relevant. Like bulwarking things and raging beasting things is just a wasted turn. Twofold Turn, you know, for 1 more TP will literally double some things damage. Like if you Twofold Turn Frederica, she can double Scorch, which is actually ridiculous damage. You can double rush with Roland. You can do a few things on certain units. So I would say Twofold Turn is always relevant, but I would like to see buffs on these as well, to make him like better. Maybe make it so that Raging Beast can hit like 2 targets like that are next to each other, and then Bulwark can hit like 3 in a row or something. I think that would be cool. Or even make it so that it like reduces damage as well, aside from just raising defense. Give it like some kind of damage reduction, like -5, -10 damage or something. Because especially in hard mode, he takes so much damage. And then Bird of Prey, and I think all of these should last 5 turns. Like, if you're going to make a buff dude, like a guy that can buff, at least make it so the buffs last long. Like, 3 turns seems like a lot of turns, but especially in a fast unit, that shit ends fast, dude. Like, if you throw a buff on Anna, and she has, like, speed items, it's, you know, she gets double turns, and then she has a fast 3rd turn, it's gone already. So it's not really the best thing. And then Anna can debuff enemies with Deadly Blaze, so she doesn't even need a damage boost, because she can give it to herself by killing things. And then also, like, she spams items. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Benedict. Overall, I'd say like a New Game Plus hard mode, level 50, he's like an A tier, a solid A tier for Dragon Shield and Twofold Turn. Now is something you can still use. He's okay. He's not, but like on Fresh Save, honestly, on Fresh Save, I want to put him at like C tier. Like for the early chapters, he's just not good. Because you don't have the battery to support him, and the best things he can do is give you a damage buff and then cause you to take a turn, but he could just be a unit that could always do something else. I'd rather have, I don't know, Milo instead, because shutdown is always good. You can never have enough shutdown. You can never have enough damage, you can never have enough shutdown. These are like the 2 golden rules of this game. Utility and damage mitigation are not nearly as important as shutdown and damage. And same thing with healing. Healing is nice to have, like you want at least 1 healer usually, but you can easily get away with dropping mitigation, assuming you position well and you just kill things and shut them down. Because shutdown is mitigation. If you fury a bunch of enemies, and especially if they're like mages and healers and whatever and archers, and they're all attacking Eridor with physical attacks and he can tank them, they're all shut down. That's mitigation. They're no longer attacking weak, vulnerable things. So yeah, that's my Benedict rant. I think he's like bad on a fresh save, but then he gets better as you get towards the end game. Once he gets Twofold Turn, I would say is when he starts to get like B tier ish. But the main problem I have with him is compared to the other units you get like on a fresh save. Like, let me load my fresh save right now, or my relatively fresh save. You can see some of my save files here. This one. This one. Here we go. Oh yeah, so you can see the split here. This is how I do the tutorials. I stop at voting, and then I do a save for each side. So let's go to this one. We'll look at Benedict, and let's see what he can even do. And you'll see why I don't like him as a new game. I actually like him as a character, though. Like, I think he's one of the more interesting characters. All right, unit placement. So look at my starting units. Every single one of these units is really good. There isn't a single unit I'm running that isn't really good. I can't see who I would replace in this team with Benedict, because what are we doing on this map? Well, we're pushing high ground. Okay, so what can Benedict do in relation to pushing high ground? He can now things. He can use Raging Beast to increase damage on a single unit. He can use Bird of Prey, and he can Bulwark. So which of those? Let's like pull them up. Which of these is actually useful here? So Raging Beast damage increase. I'd rather just have another mage or another archer. So this one I'm going to say is not worth running. Bulwark. This could be useful, but I'd rather have Shutdown. That's why I have Izana and Huette. Bird of Prey, increasing jump by 1. Almost seems like it would be good on this map because, oh, maybe you can like hop up some of these. Right? This one you can actually. This puts you at 3 jumps, so you could get up here if we were over here. I wouldn't push this side, though. This is like... These are going to rotate this way anyways, and the guy we need to keep alive is over here. So for Deathless, we're going to be rallying around Rufus and trying to keep him safe. So I wouldn't even push this side. I would actually push this side over here, probably in this flank, and then have all of these lose their high ground and approach me, because they actually have to come down to low ground to approach me. But Bird of Prey, you could skip this step here, but then you can't skip this. Most units have 2 jump. Bird of Prey puts them at, 3. So this is a difference of 4. Can't hop this up. Can't hop up that. Can't hop up this. That's 4. Can't hop up this. That's 4. There's a lot of things that are 4. This is 5. And 4 there. Can't even hop up this. Like, if Bird of Prey actually made it so you had like +2 or +3 jump, I would say it's good, because then you could push high ground easier. But +1 jump isn't a big enough difference. Like, Huette can just fly. Like, why would I need a Bird of Prey? She already is a Bird of Prey. She's going to be grabbing high ground. Eridor is going to be doing his thing. He can give himself +1 move. It's fine. He doesn't need it. And then for the rest of them, honestly, he's going to be controlling probably like here with Fury, and then the rest are going to be over here trying to like kill all these mages fast. So that's what. Or actually, do they even have mages? They have healers. Oh, they don't even have mages. They just have archers. All right, so we can hold this position, and then he can just kind of physical tank here, and then catch heals and stuff, and then keep Rufus alive. So that's probably the game plan. But I don't see a single unit in this team that I would replace with Benedict for this mission, especially for Deathless. Crinton's really good damage and can silence. He can also make an ice wall. Archibald's really good damage and will kill things. He can also ignore armor. Frederica is really good damage. She can also put -1 move on things with blazing chains. She can flame shield Eridor so that everything that's provoked by him that's attacking him takes essentially like 20 damage from a shield bash, then 20 damage from flame shield. This actually can add up to pretty good damage. Izana can single target lightning things and 60% chance to paralyze them. Julio is a damage buff and battery to all the mages. Eridor is a tank that shuts things down. Huette is a single target damage shutdown. Cyrano is forced. I actually would opt. If I could, I probably wouldn't run him. I'd rather run Roland because AoE damage. Piccoletta spams decoys and throws items, and that's actually pretty good. And then, of course, we have a healer. And the decoys are seriously good. Like on Fresh Save, Deathless Hard, decoys are insane. If you can keep those things alive, and you can, and they actually deal damage at lower levels, they will waste so many enemy turns, and you can reposition enemies with them. That is worth its weight in gold. It has literally helped me beat a lot of these missions, just using decoys correctly. So, how does Benedict fit into this team comp? He doesn't. These are better units. He just doesn't do enough. And with the case of him dealing 20, increasing stats, so you deal 20% more damage. I don't even think that's the case, that he would increase damage by 20%. He might. I don't know. I'd have to test it. But the higher level you get, the less damage increase you actually get. So just something to keep in mind. But yeah, that's my Benedict video. I'm not saying he's like a bad unit or you should hate him or something, but I think overall, like on a fresh save, because he's like a starting unit, people might think, oh, he must be really good. He's honestly, he's like one of the worst starting units, unless you're playing on something that isn't hard. On hard mode, there are so many better options, and he should be overlooked, to be honest. And even on New Game Plus, level 50, he's not even one of the best units. He's just like one of the many A tiers, which there are quite a few of. So he can be used, but he's not optimal. Because there's quite a few S tiers. Like on this team, I would say Serenoa, Eridor, Hewitt, Corinton, and you could argue Frederica and Archibald are S tiers as well. And Azana's pretty good, just because she just keeps shutting things down while damaging them, similar to Hewitt. The difference is she needs a battery. So, but she's still good. You run a battery, she's good. But yeah, that's my Benedict video. Let me know what you think. Definitely like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. I'm going to be doing this level soon as a guide for hard and deathless. So yeah, thanks for checking this out, and I'll see you in the next one.